Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Neremik and welcome back to more of the greatest tourney adventures and or Chronicles. Last time, we wrapped up Case 2, Adventure with a Speckled Band, and this time, we're moving into the adventure of the Runaway Room. Of course, if you do end up enjoying, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff. And now, we'll go opening. Cutscene time.
Glancing over my records of the late last century, I am faced by the events of a certain bitter winter. A murder in a carriage as it sped through dense London fog in the dead of night. Though the victim and the perpetrator were the only ones inside, there were multiple witnesses to the crime itself. However, none could have imagined at the time that such a seemingly obvious case as this would end in such a horrendous manner. My friend, Mr. Herlock Sholmes, once said of the incident, "I believe that perhaps that case was indeed the prelude. The beginning of a long concerto that impressive Japanese student and I were to play together."
Amazing. Is this really just a railway station?
Railway station or not, I've never seen such an enormous building before.
And look at all the steam locomotives. This country is incredible.
I feel like I'm dreaming.
So this is the capital of Great Britain.
So, where to?
Oh, hello.
Climb aboard. I'll take you wherever you want to go.
In that case, the Supreme Court in Whitehall, if you wouldn't mind.
My pleasure. I suppose you're visiting students from abroad, eh?
Yes.
Thought so. Well then, I hope you enjoy your stay. And welcome to the centre of the world, Great Britain's mighty capital, London.
Yeah, so actually in London, the main setting of the game, you know, pretty much at the midpoint of the game. Okay, anyway, a fancy building with some birds. So, it's the 18th of February in 9:21 in the AM, British Supreme Court, Lord Chief Justice's office. What an incredible place! It's so imposing. It's almost suffocating. This place is breathtaking! It looks like a fortress. There are some stone buildings like this in Japan now, of course, but they've only been built in a few short decades since we opened our borders to the outside world. An authentic example like this has quite a different impact, wouldn't you say? A far cry from the wood and paper most of our buildings are made up. It's certainly unfamiliar. But I think there's more to the differences than just construction materials. What is this place? This is the Lord Chief Justice's office, Naruhodo-san, in the Supreme Court of Great Britain. The Lord Chief Justice. We had instructions to report here at this time. If circumstances were different, we were supposed to let the Lord Chief Justice know that we had arrived from Japan. But Kazuma can't. No. So instead we are here in a different capacity, as envoys to report the news of Kazuma-sama's death. Yeah. And having delivered his or her message, an envoy's duty is done. So we'd have to return to Japan. If we want to remain here in Great Britain, I have to take Kazuma's place as the law student selected for the Toady store, right? Yes, which means you need the requisite qualifications as a lawyer. Which is what I've been studying for. Here in Great Britain, this is the Lord Chief Justice who appoints lawyers. So that's the second reason why we're here. To have you officially recognised as a lawyer. It's the only way we'll be able to remain here in London. I hope I'm up to the scratch. Ah, good morning. Sorry for keeping you. Oh. I trust you want to exhaust it after your long voyage from Japan? It seems I'm 1 hour, 12 minutes, and 47 seconds late. My apologies. Oh, no, don't mention it. We're never happier than when we're standing around with nothing much to do. How fortunate. So, introductions. I'm Mel Strongheart, Lord Chief Justice of the British Empire. And I feel a little mouse under an elephant's foot. Come on, Miss Naruto, don't be a mouse. Oh, it's an honor to meet you, Lord Chief Justice Strongheart. I'm Ryunosuke Naruto from the Empire of Japan. Well, Miss Naruto. Welcome to London, the capital of our glorious British Empire. Ah, yes, thank you. Okay, so converse. We'll start with London. So, what's your impressions of our capital so far? How do you like London? Oh, well, I'm so nervous ever since I got here that I can't remember a single thing about the city. It's simply splendid, isn't it, Mr. Naruto? Oh? We had a wonderful view of some of London's streets from the carriage on the way here from the station. Everything is so impressive and grand. I must say I'm all lost for words. I'm glad to hear you like it. The city boasts tramways, piped water and gas, even cables supplying electricity. We spearhead every evolutionary technology in the world. Every visitor to London is astounded. Oh yes, astounded is the word. Thanks for saving me there. And everyone seems so jolly and full of vigour. Yes, there's much excitement about the upcoming grand exhibition we'll be hosting here in London. Great exhibition? Cultural and technology achievements from around the globe will be exhibited here in our great city. It will be the greatest spectacle of its kind in history, and we will make Paris's World Fair look like a toy shop. Gosh, I can hardly imagine how magnificent it's going to be. Great Britain's capital city is nothing but magnificent. London is the centre of the modern world. Even if you do say so yourself. The sun will never set on our great empire. Perhaps it is fate that in these progressive times, we welcome visitors from the land of the rising sun. Okay, and the law student. Lord Chief Justice. I think you were expecting a student of law for this study tour, weren't you? Absolutely. A Mr. Kazuma Asugi, if my memory serves. That's right. The British government has already been telegraphed a full report on the situation. I understand the young man lost his life aboard the steamship bound for our shores. That's amazing! The news reached him before we even arrived. My country naturally extends its deepest condolences to yours. Oh, thank you. And you wanted this appointment specifically to inform me of the news? Yes. We're here in the capacity of envoys from Japan to report the sad news in person. They tell me you Japanese are people of protocol and courtesy, and I see that it's true. And it is with some regrets that I must inform you. The death of the young lawyer means the study tour arrangement can no longer proceed. If you'll just hear us out, Lord Strongheart. What do you have to say? It's about the study tour. Mr. Naruto here would like to make a proposal. Would he now? Well, Mr. Naruto. This is it then. Moment of truth. Alright, there's no option. Continuing the study tour. The thing is, Lord Justice, Lord Strongheart, I was wondering if perhaps you would consider allowing the study tour to go ahead. Don't misunderstand me. Britain would ideally like to see the tour go ahead, but with us all away from your country, there's nothing to be done. Well, in that case, what if there was someone else? Another lawyer from Japan, I mean. Is there something I don't know? Only a single lawyer was invited to Great Britain from your country, and that was Mr. Asugi. At least, that is what I've been led to understand. Well, the thing is, this really isn't going well at all. I just can't seem to find the right words to say to this man. Mr. Narrator, I could ruin things right here if I'm not careful. What am I going to say? If there's someone else here from Japan who could be described as a lawyer, it's me. It's me. I can do it. Is that so? I mean, I don't actually have any qualifications as such, but... No qualifications, you say? And you still claim to be a lawyer? I have acted as a lawyer in court before. Only once, as it happens. And I guys must help me, and I was the accused! But glossing over the details... I've been spending every spare moment on the journey here to Great Britain studying. I've learned all about British law and court proceedings while I was on board the SS Burya. The voyage from Japan is some 50 days, I believe, not what you might call full education. To become a qualified lawyer here in Britain, not only do you need a university's degree in law, but you also must complete several years of training. I realise it's far too short a period of time, but I can't just go back to Japan. Kazuma, Mr. Asugi's journey had only just begun. Coming here on this study tour was all he thought about. I have to carry that on and do everything he planned to. I know it must sound like I have an overly inflated opinion of myself, but I will do anything to prove that I have what it takes. Any test you can set me. Just one chance. That's all I'm asking for. Please! 31 seconds. Sorry? Your opening statement there, Mr. Naruhodo. It was 31 seconds long. Not too brief, not too protracted. A perfectly judged appeal, I would say. Which is a skill that I would stand you good as instead of lawyer. Blah, blah. Oh, thanks. So, you're willing to put those words to trial, are you? Well, I'm all for entertainment. But let me ask you one thing first, sir. Yes? You say you intend to do everything Mr. Asugi planned to. Are you firmly set on that path? Well, yes, that is my intention. I see. Am I imagining things? Or did his expression just alter a fraction there all of a sudden? Very well. You have your wish. I'll give you a chance. I said to become a specially certified lawyer. Whether you pass or fail is entirely down to you. Really? Test. So, what form will the test take entirely? Tell me, Mr. Naruhodo, what do you consider the role of a lawyer to be? Well, defending people, of course. Well said. So, let's have you defend someone. Huh? Your timing is perfect, in fact. There's an apt trial about to begin later today. No advocate has been appointed for the defense as of yet, so this will be welcome news. Today? Straight away? If you manage to secure a verdict of not guilty, you'll have passed my test. What could be simpler? How do I get myself into these situations? Well, could I ask what sort of trial it is, Mr. Lord Strongheart? Yes, good question. Ah, I remember. It's a murder trial. A murder? An extremely simple case, I understand. You really can't lose. That's easy to say. But I should mention, just in case, if the defendant is found guilty, he will, of course, be sentenced to capital punishment. Capital punishment? He'll be put to death? Here in Great Britain, murderers are sent to the gallows without exception. Presumably you read that much in your short sea-based introduction to British law. We can't possibly agree to such a test. We'd be toying with a man's life. I'm Lord Chief Justice, and I've decided it's acceptable. But you can't do that, can you? There's no need to overcomplicate this. All you have to do is ensure that you don't lose. So the defendant may live or die depending on how well I perform in court. If I lose, he'll be hanged. Mr. Naruhodo, you've come to claiming to be a lawyer. If you want me to take you seriously, you need to prove you're willing to do a lawyer's job. And you say you intend to see through the will of your friend, Mr. Asugi? I would like to understand just how far you're willing to go in order to make that happen. He's testing my resolve. What's the matter? You've fallen silent. I'm sorry, but time is pressing. The trial begins shortly. I need an answer from you now. What's it going to be? What do I say? Do I agree to this absurd test? I'll do it. Alright then. If I have to give you a decision now, my answer is... I can't do it, I can't get the words out! 15 seconds. Your decision making needs work if you want to be a lawyer. That was too slow. So, it's as I suspected, is it? Sorry? You have noble intentions, but lack the resolve to see them through. The test is cancelled, thank you for stopping by. Go and acquire your ticket for passage back to the East tomorrow. This conversation is over. Yes, Lord Strongheart. Thank you for offering me a chance. Mr. Naruto. I'm sorry, Mr. Sato, but what could I do? It's alright, I understand. You do? It's not an easy decision to choose whether to defend the man in these circumstances, but resolve has absolutely nothing to do with it. What are you trying to say, madame? I think what Mr. Sato means is that no matter how badly I'd like to be recognised as a lawyer and stay here in Great Britain, to risk another man's life by treating his one and only chance at a trial so trivially would be utterly unforgivable, and I feel the exact same way. I'm sure the defendant won't see this trial as a test, as some kind of experiment. Oh, he may fight for his clients in court day after day, but for each one of those clients, a particular day they stand in that dock may be the only chance they have to fight to prove their innocence. No, I was wrong. I'm not qualified to do that job yet. I am sorry for wasting your precious time, Mr. Chief Justice. Wait, Mr. Naruto. Oh, was there something else? It's approximately 20 minutes by carriage to the Old Bailey from here. If you leave immediately, you should still be there in time. But I just said that. I was quite serious in what I told you. The defendant in this case has literally no one to advocate for him. What? At this point, he can't hope to find someone to represent him. The trial will begin without a defence. And if that happens, there's only one possible outcome. He will receive the most severe sentence the judge can pass down. That's awful! But this is the truth. Why does it have to be like this? Please don't expect an answer to every question. The cold hard truth of the matter is that there is only one person now with a chance to save this man from a very miserable end. And that is you. And really, his only hope? So, what do you say now, madame? Me? What do you mean, Lord Strongheart? You said it wasn't an easy decision to choose whether to defend the man in these circumstances. And I agree. But in my estimation, it is purely and simply a matter of resolve. Oh. Our time is up here, I have a meeting to attend. I must leave in 2 minutes and 16 seconds. So, venture into our great city and enjoy yourselves. He's gone. The Old Bailey. If we're going to do this, Miss Naruto, we must leave at once. Okay, yeah, move. And straight to the Old Bailey. London's highest criminal court with an illustrious past, the Old Bailey is where I meant to take my test and prove my worthiness as a lawyer. And oh, what a test that's going to be. I promise the voice acting's going to get better from here. Strongheart had like 3 different voices throughout that thing, and all of them were loud. Anyway, 18th February, 9:45 AM, the Old Bailey, Defendant's Antechamber. Oh, thank goodness we're in time. There's still 15 minutes until the trial begins. I never knew a horse-drawn carriage could go so fast. I thought my teeth were going to rattle loose. Did you hear what I said to the driver when we climbed aboard? Get us to our destination in 5 minutes, driver, and there's a guinea in it for you. It's one of my favourite lines from the Sherlock Holmes stories, and it worked quite perfectly. I'm not sure why you're so pleased. I thought we were going to die and we had to pay gold for the privilege. Well, at least we arrived here before the trial started. Yes, I suppose there's that. Anyway, I don't understand it. The court clerk said the defendant should be here, but there's no sign of him at all. So this is the Old Bailey. Even this room for the defendants to wait in is grand. Are you alright, Mr. Naruhodo? I'm feeling tense, that's all. This place gives me the same sense of foreboding I remember from the Supreme Court. An oppressive air, almost as if the building itself is going to crush whoever's about to be sentenced. It feels like only yesterday that I was the one about to be crushed. Yes, whoever the man you're about to defend is, I imagine he's feeling very alone at this moment. Top of the morning to you, madam. What are you doing for me here? Things are fair desperate, aren't they? Sorry. Oh, but look at those expressionless faces. From the East, are yous? Oh, from Japan, yes. Ah, Japan, is it? So I say no more. So, how much do you need? No, we're just here because... No need to explain, fella. I've been there myself, so I have. No place to go, nothing to eat, barely a penny to your name, and all while in a strange faraway land. Well, actually, we haven't found a place to stay yet, no. 'Tis grand. Now let me start by giving you 1,000 guineas. You say nothing now. 1,000 guineas? Please, Mr. Sato, you don't have to shout. But 1,000 guineas is... This will build an entire mansion in the most prestigious area of Tokyo. What? Yeah, it is nothing to me at all. I want to ensure I have sufficient funds to build a with rainy day, you see. I have enough wealth to buy the city of London 2 or 3 times over. Could that much rain even fall in one day? Even so, we couldn't possibly accept such a large sum of money. Wow! Aim in the eye. Now, don't get me wrong, fella. I'm not giving you no strings attached. I'll be wanting you to do something for me. Oh? To be honest, that is a little embarrassing. The trial that's about to begin, you see, is for me good self here. I'll be in the dock. So now what I want you to do is come along with me and stand there beside me. Officially, you'd be my lawyer, but that's just a little detail now. Oh, well, the thing is, don't worry about a thing. All you have to do is stand up there next to me. Nothing more. Otherwise, you see, the trial's going to start with me having any kind of representation at all. So it was true. Lord Chief Justice wasn't just making it all up. I'm terribly sorry to have to ask, but does that mean you're the defendants in this trial? Buster and Blazes, do you not know who I am? Me? One of the biggest names? No, sorry, we've only just arrived in the city, you see. Yeah, I see. Should put it in all in clear and possible. Now, well, just next to Hyde Park, in the centre of London, there's another beautiful park. Sorry, a park? What? It is called McGilded Park, full of blossoming flowers in the spring and singing birds and whatnot. I donated to the city, so I did. An entire park in central London. A city of smiles, that's my vision for London. Now, there's nothing Magnus McGilded wouldn't do for the city and its queer old people. That's amazing. I mean, really extraordinary. Yeah, but now they've had the gold to say I'm a good-for-nothing criminal. Me, Magnus McGilded. What is the matter with London police, I ask you? Alright, don't pass out. Mr. Naruhodo. Perhaps now would be a good time to introduce ourselves while the gentleman catches his breath. Good idea. Yeah. Mr. McGilded, the thing is, we're actually here in London to study British law. We're law students on a study tour from Japan, you see. Yeah. So if you don't have a lawyer for the trial just yet, and you'd be happy to put yourself in our hands, we'll do our best. What was I after saying, you daft idiot? I've given you 1,000 guineas to stand up there next to me, haven't I? Well, yes, I wasn't really offering just to stand up there next to you. Oh, I think I see what's going on here. Sorry. I know what you're thinking. Now, this Chancellor of Fell claims to have more money than the Queen. But if that's true, why the blazes can't he hire the finest lawyer in all of England? Because he did it! That's the only explanation. Well. Well. Not at all. Not at all! Although it is a little strange, to be honest. Now, why don't you have a lawyer, I mean? That would be the fault of the Reaper. Sorry, did he just say the Reaper? Aye. Grim Reaper of the Great Bailey, Lord Baron von Zieks. He's the prosecutor. The prosecutor is the Grim Reaper? When Van Zieks stands in for the prosecution, they call the accused his sacrificial lambs. And to this day, in every single trial in which he's been the prosecutor, the accused has been damned! What? So it's reached a desperate situation. Well, there's no one willing to stand in defence against the fellow at all. You could say he's a living legend in the Old Bailey. Goodness, that was Baron von Zieks. He must be an exceptionally talented prosecutor then. Talented isn't the word you're looking for, madame. It's cursed. Cursed? What on earth? The defendant is summoned, and his counsel. Please make your way into the courtroom. The trial's about to begin. His counsel, that would be me. Yes, this time. Well then, fellow, don't let me down. Now, but I don't know anything about the case. You haven't told me what happened. Until you showed your face here. I made up my mind, so I had. Sorry? I decided I'd have to defend myself in there. How would that have worked? But then you made an appearance, a student of law, wouldn't you know? 'Tis no accident, I can assure you of that. 'Tis fate. So don't get cold feet now, please. I literally know nothing about the case, or about this man who stands accused. In fact, the only thing I do know is that I can't just turn my back on him. Miss Narada, the man has no one. He'll have to stand alone in that courtroom, armed with nothing to defend himself. Yeah, something that Kazuma would never have allowed to happen. Counsel for the defense, what are you doing? If you wait for the start of the trial, you will lose your right to stand. I'll be right there. It's happening then. My first trial in British court. I hope you're watching over me, Kazuma. Because I have no idea how I'm gonna manage this. Oh, okay. They didn't hit us with the to be continued. I fully expected us to maybe cheekily round off the episode here, but now we'll go for a little while longer. So 18th of February, 10 AM, the Old Bailey Courtroom. The only courtroom. So this is the highest court in Great Britain. The Old Bailey. The centuries of history in this place is palpable, isn't it? It's so different compared to the Supreme Court. It feels both imposing and serene at the same time. The atmosphere almost makes words redundant. Whatever the country, determining a person's guilt or innocence is always a solemn affair. May I say something, Mr. Naruto? Oh, yeah? What? Your eyes look ready to pop out of your head again. I know, I just can't help it. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. We are here today to determine the guilt or innocence of Mr. Magnus McGilded, and I now call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defence to declare their willingness to proceed. The prosecution is fully prepared. That must be the Reaper of the Bailey. He really does look fully prepared to dispatch the next poor victim to the underworld. Counsel for the defence, you appear to be Eastern. Do you speak English? Huh? Oh, yeah, of course. Sorry. But he asked if the defense was ready, and I couldn't be further from ready if I tried. Those eyes please me. Nipponese. They shroud your fear, your doubt, your trepidation. They run wild, clinging to some phantom notion of courage. A quintessential look of a sacrificial lamb. Ugh. A cold shiver just went to my spinal waist at the tip of my toes. Now, Mr. McGilded. Yes, my lord. You stand accused of murder, a capital offence. You could be sent to the gallows if found guilty. Are you quite sure you wish to entrust your defence to this foreigner? As I've always said, my lord, 'tis a grand thing to have opportunities to the young, even if the fellow is a student from some little island in the Far East. Is it not the British way to ignore the dangers into yourself and give those less fortunate a fair chance? I'd like to think that the acts of chivalry do the great British Empire proud. Now listen to Mr. McGilded. What a fine gentleman London has in him. Do you hear that he just donated £5,000 to the government the other day? Please maybe go play Mr. McGilded's park. It seems though everyone in the public gallery is firmly behind Mr. McGilded. That's definitely welcome news, and he certainly has a way with words. I'm surprised he couldn't convince anyone to defend him. Eloquently put, Mr. McGilded, and the most laudable sentiments. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I'm sure I need hardly remind you. The 6 members of the public has been selected for your impartiality. Are you ready to proceed? Yes, my lord. If the task is to send rotters to the gallows where they belong, I am more than ready. At the manner his lordship always says we should dispose of rubbish promptly. Naturally, I agree. Ah, any criminals, they also be wishing they never set eyes on me. I feel a chill. Oh, don't mind me, my dears. I'll just be getting on with my knitting. Just finish these bits for me, grandson. Ah, Mr. Naruhodo, those people are... The jury, yeah. That's something we don't have in Japan just yet. That's right, I've only ever read about it. But here in Great Britain, the court's final verdict depends on the opinion of these 6 jurors. The judge passes sentences according to the law, but the jurors determine guilt based on common sense. So the defendant is ultimately judged from 2 completely different points of view. But how exactly do the jurors give their verdicts? That I don't know, but... I'm sure it will become clear as the trial progresses. Yeah. Prosecutor Van Zieks. My lord. It's been quite a number of years since we've seen you here in the courtroom. I thought you'd renounce your fame. I'm known as the Reaper of the Bailey, my lord. Infamy rather than fame, I would say. But yes, 5 years have passed since I last spread my wings in this capacity. So, what brings you back? Is there some change of circumstance of which the court should be aware? I leave that to your imagination, my lord. So, the Reaper has been out of action for 5 years. Why did he choose today of all days to make a comeback? Don't lose heart, Mr. Naruhodo. As you wish, sir. The court nevertheless welcomes your return. Now then, opening statements, I believe. A summary of the case, if you please. Certainly, my lord. As your worship is aware, this case is overwhelmingly simple. You must be the only ones in here who aren't aware. The incident took place in the late evening, 3 days in the past. The hour was some minutes after 10. The victim was a maker of building bricks known in the community as Thrice Fired Mason. Sorry, thrice? He was a very accomplished craftsman. The bricks he fired were said to be almost indestructible. The victim's corpse was discovered in an omnibus in the service on streets of London at the time. A dagger had been thrust into the victim's abdomen and believed to be the ultimate cause of death. Here is the autopsy report from the investigating medical officer at Scotland Yard. Thank you, Counsel. I shall accept that and the photograph as evidence. Okay, so we've got a little bit of stuff to work with and counter his points, but not too much. Right. And on one further item of evidence. The prosecution wishes to submit these as well. And these are... Good lord! Is that board, Counsel? Yes, my lord. Seized by a policeman who arrived at the scene. These gore-soaked gloves were taken from the hands of the accused when he was arrested. What? And Mr. McGilder's gloves had blood on them. Yes, I'll accept these as evidence as well. Okay, that's not much to work with now. In fact, that pretty much proves he did it. Okay, alright, how did I get into this? I'm back into a corner before I've even started. Continuing. According to the driver of the omnibus, there were only 2 passengers travelling inside his vehicle at the time. Only 2? Obviously, one of those passengers was the deceased brickmaker, Mr. Mason. The other was one Magnus McGilded. Well, rather damning circumstances, to say the least. Defendant, what say you? Well, of course I have no recollection of such a thing. Mr. McGilded! To be sure, I rode the omnibus that evening, but whenever I'm in a carriage, I'm taken with a fierce tiredness and I always succumb to it. Are you claiming to have been asleep? Just the motion of the carriage, my lord. Wilton, so it is. And when I open my eyes again. It was a desperate sight before me, the body of a man I'd never laid eyes on before in my life. Now I ask you, as what good-hearted soul wouldn't rush to help a fellow bleeding from his stomach? I wasn't about to start worrying about me gloves now, was I? I reached out to give the man a hand. So the blood got onto the gloves then, after the man had been killed. Unfortunately, that statement of the driver's is only the beginning. What? That's not all of it. There were multiple witnesses to the precise moments at which the brickmaker was fatally stabbed. Oh. Order! 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 When the killing took place, only the victim and the accused were inside of the carriage. And there were witnesses to the crime. This isn't just a case of compelling evidence. It's the nail in the coffin for the accused. Thank you, counsel. The circumstances of the crime have been made quite clear. I think we'll hear testimony from these witnesses first of all. Your wish is my command. Bailiff, bring in these witnesses at once. Witnesses, your names and occupations. Well, my name is, well, everybody calls me Beppo. I drive an omnibus in the East End. Bruce Fairplay. I'm a banker in the city. My name's First. Lady First. I make hats for gents. Let's begin by confirming the facts. 3 days ago, at a short time after 10 o'clock in the evening, all of you were present in the stand, were in an omnibus and witness to the aforementioned incident. Is that correct? Yes, sir. Quite right. Yes, sir. That's quite right, sir. Very well then, let's proceed to your formal testimonies, please. Each of you will tell the court precisely what you saw. Okay. Been a while since we've done one of these. Right, what the witnesses saw. It was the last bus of the evening, so we had a few customers, I remember it well. The victim and the man accused of killing him were sat next to each other inside of the bus. Then, out of the blue, the accused just reached over and plunged a knife right into his guts. That's right, he stabbed him. I screamed at it, I couldn't help it. As soon as I heard the scream, I stopped my bus, and then I saw it too. An ambiguous testimony, I must say. Exactly, my lord. These men witnessed the incident in the omnibus with their own eyes. I'd like to ask a question, if I may. Yes, counsel? Well, this testimony makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. Why not? Well, the incident took place inside a moving carriage, didn't it? As had become clearly stated from the outside, yes. Well, in that case, how could those two witnesses possibly have seen what happened? There's no way they could have seen the inside of a moving carriage. How quaint. I'd read that civilization in the Eastern Isle nations was a good century behind our own. But you're here in London yourself. Are you really so ignorant about our omnibuses? Huh? Tell me, my Nipponese friend, have you even travelled in an omnibus? Well, no. We, only arrived in London this morning. No matter. I've arranged for us all to see for ourselves. The actual scene of the crime, that is. What do you mean? The actual scene? How? A carriage is designed to be moved, after all. Presumably you'd understand that much. Yes. The omnibus in which this bloody crime took place is here today, in this very building. Here? What? The entire carriage? Bailiff. Bring forth the stricken omnibus. Ah, as you do. Okay. So that's an omnibus. The omnibus. I can't believe they could bring something so enormous in here. Great Britain's courtrooms are amazing. As you can see, the omnibus is pulled by 2 horses and can carry up to 8 passengers. 4 passengers seated inside the enclosed cabin, and another 4 on the rooftop deck above. Every Londoner knows that the best views of the city architecture and sights are to be had from the top of an omnibus. And I should point out to our foreign guests that there is a skylight in the roof allowing a view of the interior from the seats above. Ah, so a skylight. The penny drops at last, I see. These 2 gentlemen were occupying the rooftop seats of this omnibus when the murder took place. That is how they came to witness the grim incident, though through the skylight. Ugh, that makes perfect sense. Well, counsel, it's just this first. In all my years behind the bench, I've never experienced the crime scene itself being brought into the courtroom. There are a number of important clues remaining inside of the carriage, my lord. I would like to submit the omnibus itself as evidence. That is the prosecution's wish. Very well, I see no reason why not. The omnibus is hereby formally accepted as evidence. Oh, look how colourful it is. I can't believe it! The entire crime scene is evidence! Yes, Great Britain is simply extraordinary. I couldn't help myself a lot by giving that omnibus a thorough examination, seeing as it's here. Let us continue with the proceedings then. Your cross-examination, counsel. Pray don't expect this Nipponese stray to understand the intricacies of a British court's cross-examination rights. Alright. My first cross-examination in a British court. Focus, Ryunosuke! Focus! Here we go. Cross-examination. There has to be a flaw in here, or at least something we can press. So it was the last bus of the evening, so I had a few customers, I remember it well. The victim and the man accused of killing him were sat next to each other inside of the bus. Let's... Oh, I know that contradicts something, but I don't have proof to go with it. Okay. And you saw them through the skylight in the roof of the carriage? That's right, when you sit upon the top deck, the window's right there at your feet. There was a lamp on the inside, so I had a pretty good view. The 2 of them were wearing hats that I couldn't exactly make out their faces, but there's not a shred of doubt in my mind that it was Mr. McGilded. How can you be so sure? Well, how can I put it politely? Mr. McGilded is a gentleman of rather small stature. I could have mistaken him for anyone else. Let's not forget that when the vehicle came to a halt, the only people inside the enclosed cabin were the deceased Mr. Mason and Mr. McGilded. There is no room for doubt here. Ugh, I really wish there was. Then out of the blue, the accused just reached over and punched a knife right into his guts.
Hold it!
You actually sure the exact moment this happened? Didn't I already testify to that? Or a fair drunken or hard-working city banker is not trusted worthy enough these days. Oh, no, I didn't mean that. This is no good. I've really got his back up. Perhaps you could just tell us what you saw in a little more detail, if that's... My lord! Juror number 3? What's the meaning of this? My mind is made up, my lord. Completely and utterly made up. Made up about what? I don't like the stinking rich. Never have. They're always up to something or other that they shouldn't be. Every single one of them. And that little leprechaun of a man is no exception. Well, he can't fool me. There's no point in wasting time listening to any more of this. That's my opinion on the matter anyway. That is precisely what I was about to say. As a foreman of the jury, it is my duty to set good examples to my fellow jurors. What the? What is happening here? Let me see. Ah yes, it appears that's how the members of the jury give their verdicts. With fire? Apparently yes. White for innocent and black for guilty. As the 6 members of the jury make up their minds about the case. One by one, they each cast a ball of fire into the great scales of justice as we saw a moment ago. So if those enormous scales fall completely to the black side, does that mean... Let's do our very best to make sure that doesn't happen. Now I'm even more worried than I was ways before. Very well. The court acknowledges the change in the jury's stance. Counsel for the defense, please continue with your cross-examination. This is a nightmare. Okay, that's right, he stabbed in. I screamed, I did, I couldn't help it. And the last one is, as soon as I heard the scream, I stopped my bus, and then I saw it too. Okay, so we'll go back one, and we'll press that. Yeah.
Hold it!
He stabbed him, you say, and were you sitting up on the roof deck, were you? Yes, that's right, sir. I was up on the roof seats. I remember seeing the little gent sitting next to the fellow that was stabbed. I've been thinking about a new hat design, you see, so I was just gazing absent-mindedly around. But then, I happened to look down through the skylight. It was sticking right out from his belly, that huge great knife. Grim sight indeed. Ah, that didn't help me at all. Jury look like they're even more convinced by my client doing it now than were before. That appears to have made everyone quite more dubious that Mr. McGilder is telling the truth. If only we had some evidence to counter their suspicions. Mr. First! Oh yes, sir. Is this the knife you saw? Oh, good grief, yes, that's it! Very one, sir. Is that... Yes, counsel. This is the blade that was driven into the victim's belly like a stake through the heart. This is a blade of considerable size, counsel. It is. And furthermore, the stabber is emblazoned with a prominently certain symbol. The letter M, which seems oddly familiar. Please, don't. M for Magnus, perhaps? Or McGilded, possibly. Take your pick. It seems a particular big name and made a magnificent mistake.
Objection!
But there are M's everywhere. Oh yes, like in Mason.
Objection!
This blade is far too extravagant for a poor brickmaker to have owned. No, this weapon of murder almost certainly belongs to the accused. Ugh. Not conclusive, but certainly compelling, counsel. Okay. Its quality and fancy ornamentation suggest it must be quite valuable. My lord, if you'll forgive the interruption. Ah, juror number 2. Go on. Mr. McGilder is a pillar of society and the gentleman. And the gentleman's word should be sacrament. However, those of us in service know we must accept hard truths. Wait, what are you about to do? Dispose of the rubbish. So that's 50-50. No! I don't wish to cause offence, but I do like to eradicate all traces of filth and grime. I have painstakingly typed every word out of here today and cross-referenced all of the facts. As such, I am now in position to draw the only logical conclusion. Not again. That's 4 out of 6 jury members who've proposed a guilty verdict. There are only 2 left. We've had it. Every time I press these witnesses for more information, I just make the situation worse. Nevertheless, what we need more than anything at the moment is more information. We're still very much in the dark. I suppose we'll just have to keep pressing the witnesses, knowing that more sparks may well fry. We mustn't give up hope that we'll uncover something that will give us a way to fight back. But... alright, I'll keep trying. I can't give up. I just need to keep calm and listen to the witnesses' statements again. Okay, as soon as I heard the scream, I stopped my bus and then I saw it too. So this is the last one that we need to press, and then we can start presenting things. What exactly did you see? Well, sir, that would be the passenger, sir. Collapsed on the floor, he was. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. And by the passenger, obviously, you were referring to the victim, Mr. Mason, the brickmaker. But then the passenger had the knife in his hand. Like this. And by the other passenger, obviously you're referring to the accused, Mr. Magnus McGilded. And he punch it down like this, stabbing the other passenger in the belly. What? That's a contradiction. So he screamed when he was stabbed, but he's looking after he screamed. Oh, order, order! It's hard to believe that one of London's greatest philanthropists, but this is damning indeed. The law knows no philanthropists, my lord. Only the innocent and the guilty. Good deeds mean nothing when overshadowed by evil. The truth is everything. Couldn't agree more, sir. The truth. Alright, so when it happened, the only 2 people in the enclosed cabin area were the victim and the defendant. And, so help me, 3 whole people witnessed the man I'm trying to defend do the deed. I don't like to be pessimistic, but we do seem to be in a rather difficult situation here. What am I supposed to think here? Is Mr. McGilded really innocent? Or could it be... before we jump to conclusion, our first task should be to gather information. We need to understand the case much better than we do at the moment. Yes, you're absolutely right. Let's listen to those witnesses' statements again, a little more carefully. Can't waste any more time. Yes, I think it was sometime after 10. Oh, we haven't seen this. Oh yes, sir, that's right, sir. Yes, it was ever so cold, sir, freezing in fact. And you had 4 passengers on board at the time, is that correct? Yes, that's right, sir. Not still travelling in the same parts of the bus, of course, but no. And there were no other passengers when the incident took place, not one alighted, for example. You're quite right with that, sir. No passengers like that? Nope, none. So nobody fled the scene of the crime, then. But I have to say, the boss insists on running, he does. Every evening, that's the last bus of the day. But I do wonder sometimes if it's altogether worthwhile. Sorry to say. What do you mean by that? Well, what with it being so cold and everything, and I'm only making 20 pence on the run, you see. Yep, so I spend that much at the pub on the way home. I just try to warm up again. I just can't believe it, sir. Can't believe it. But murder on my own bus is awful to think about. I haven't been able to shake this cold ever since it happened. Now, my lord, I wish to speak. Yes, juror number 5, do I take it that you too? As the master of the London Guild of Coachmen, the idea of a murder being committed in one of the city's carriages is utterly abhorrent to me. It wouldn't be right to make a decision before hearing all the facts, though, I said to myself. But I've heard enough now. The horse has bolted, as they say. No, please, just keep an open mind with along! Gee up now, Silver Blaze, the finish is in sight. Pepper was a long-standing member of the guild, and I trust what the man says. Thank you, sir. This is too kind. This is too unkind, sir. Which now means that 5 jurors agreed to condemn this man. Madame Juror number 6. Yes, dear. What can I do for you? You've heard the testimonies of the witnesses in the stand. Oh yes, I certainly have. Still got my hearing, you know. Then, pray tell, why are you yet to pronounce your leaning? Well, dear, the thing is, I'm a creature of habit, me. I always go to the parks around this time of day and sit on a nice bench and get on with my knitting. There's a lovely little park just near where I live. McGilded Park, it's called. The gentleman donates it to the city, you know, to put a smile on Londoners' faces, he said. I certainly can't imagine such a fine young gentleman would have had it in him to take another man's life. He's always doing wonderful things for the city. That's right, a man like that would never stab someone, surely. Mother, maybe we go to the McGilded Public Library and borrow some books? How many Londoners live with their heads in the clouds? What kind of man Magnus McGilded really is? What kind of man is he? The philanthropist, Mr. Magnus McGilded, has enough wealth to purchase the entire city he claims to value so highly. But where did all that wealth come from? Your client is a Shylock, sir, the one with every single inch of his soul being dark. What? Stone the crows! McGilded lends money at extortionate rates of interest so his victims have no hope of repaying him. When they default, he takes possession of everything they own. He's a vulture that plays on the weak. I've never heard any mention of that before. Your faculties haven't deserted you, I'm sure, madame. So, has this thought not crossed your mind? Would a man wealthy enough to buy London in its entirety not have a carriage of his own? Oh! He makes a good point, actually. What possible reason could this man have had to make use of a public omnibus service? You're not saying that. The victim, a poor brickmaker, had next to nothing to his name save considerable financial liability. It will come as no surprise that his creditor was the accused, Mr. Magnus McGilded. But let it also be known that the very day Mr. Mason was killed was the final repayment date for his debts. Good gracious! The brickmaker was destitute, he had lost his house, he had not a shilling of which to repay his debts. And in the end, this pitiful soul had the very last thing he owned taken from him. His life. By the merciless philanthropist pretender, Magnus McGilded. I don't believe it. If I might add something briefly, Miss Susato. You claimed that the victim had been lent money by Mr. McGilded, but where is the evidence to support your claim? Wine chalice? Pray forgive the discourtesy of filling my hallowed chalice in a courtroom of law. Oh, there it is! Lord Van Zieks' hallowed chalice. How could this be considered acceptable? But I find myself in unexpectedly good humour. I'd heard the ladies from the Far East could show great courage, but I didn't expect to experience it myself. Ah, as judicial assistant to the defence, I am simply doing my job. What a pity that your display of courage is in vain. This is the debtor's ledger, which details all monies loaned by the accused. You'll find the victim's name clearly recorded inside. Oh. Allow me to present this ledger as evidence. And pray forgive the discourtesy of raising my chalice and a toast to the enigmatic East at the same time. A marvellous toast, counsel. I will gladly accept this new evidence. Debtor's ledger has been entered into the court record. Ah yes, 20 guineas. The victim owed a considerable sum. And the accused made quite certain he had ample recompense. Well, it would seem I've had the wool pulled over my eyes. Regretfully, madame, that is the modus operandi of the accused. And it's such a pretty little park too. What a scoundrel. Still, maybe it's all for the best. Wait a minute, let's think about this a little bit more before... I don't stand for nonsense. That was it. The last juror's decision. According to this Encyclopedia of British Law, when all members of the jury have concluded that the defendant is guilty, court proceedings are suspended, and the presiding judge will deliver the final verdict and sentence. That's what it says here. The final verdict. So it's over then. Oh! There's a footnote, though. A footnote? However, the defense...
All 6 members of the jury are now in agreement in this case.
Allow me to convey my respect for your swift and righteous decisions.
According to the laws of this country, I will now conclude the trial by delivering my final verdict. I trust there are no objections.
Mr. Sato, just tell me one thing. Oh, yes? You were in the middle of saying something before. The footnote in your Encyclopedia of British Law. However, the defense... What did it say next? Oh, yes, of course. One moment. When all members of the jury have concluded that the defendant is guilty, court proceedings are suspended and the presiding judge will deliver the final verdict and sentence. Then the footnote says, however, the defense has the right to demand a summation examination of the jurors at this point. Closing argument.
Objection!
A summation examination. From which century has that tome that you have there been resurrected? Ah! Judging from the binding, I would say that book is at least 50 years old. Any modern text on British law wouldn't even give such an antiquated procedure a mention. It's a relic, long forgotten and certainly no longer practiced. So, you're out of luck. Oh. What even is it, Mr. Sato? The so-called summation examination? Oh, one moment and I'll read about it. You would demand the right to a procedure before you even understand what it entails? Typical Nipponese. Alright, Mr. Naruhido, I think I understand. It seems that under this procedure we would be able to appeal to the members of the jury. To do what exactly? Appeal them to change their leaning and reverse their decisions. It says here that, if successful, the proceedings of the trial must be resumed. Make them reverse their decisions.
Yes, in times gone by, barristers would use a summation examination to attempt to influence the jury's decision. But that procedure became something of a formality with no practical benefit, really, so it fell rather out of use.
I wonder why.
Because it was devoid of purpose.
Changing just one member of the jury's mind would be hard enough, let alone several. No self-respecting defense barrister would even assert his right to try in this day and age. Still, I don't see any mention of the procedure actually being formally revoked. What else are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that although it may be antiquated and largely forgotten, it isn't yet extinct. What do you think, Mr. Naruhido? A summation examination. Our last possible option. Do we assert our right to carry out or admit defeat? Oh, you thought we were gonna give you that answer this episode? No, we've overrun by 10 minutes. Hopefully, you've enjoyed this time. I'm going to try and upload this a little bit more frequently. This is one of my favourite cases. I just need to get into the voices. I know they've kind of been all over the shop. We're going to try and get them standardised for next week, the week after, and probably the week after that before we move on to the next one. But until next time, with all said, I really hope you've enjoyed. I certainly have. And thanks for watching, guys. My name's been Neremik, and peace out.